In this video, we're going to go into access modifiers, explain a little bit more about what they are and how they're useful. So bear with me, because at first this won't seem useful. You'll be like, why do we even have this? And I promise you there's a reason why you have it, and it'll become clearer as we go. I'm not sure if this will be one or two videos, we'll see. But this is how you use access modifiers. This is the public, private, all that kind of stuff that we've seen before. What we're going to do to show this is to do what we've been doing so far. Actually, is not usually best practice. See how these two fields are public? It's not normally how you do it. One of the characteristics of object-oriented programming is something called encapsulation, and that has encapsulated within it something called information hiding. What you want to do is abide by, there's a principle called the principle of least privilege. This is where whenever you create something, you only give enough access to it in order for other people to be able to operate with it, but not any more than that. So let me just show you real quick what this means in practical terms. If we did abide by that principle here, what we would do is change these both to private, so they're no longer public. And again, these are this is so often done that I said that I call it usually instance variables. I very often just say private instance variables, so they just kind of go together. Again, there's nothing illegal about making them public, but it's typical that your instance variables, your fields, will be private. Sort of like, if you don't have a reason to make them public, make them private. So what does that mean for us? That means in our demo over here, actually we don't have any problems. Yeah, we do. So you'll notice that we can still create the point. That's fine. But if we try to compile this and run it, we'll get a syntax error. This is because since this is these two variables are private now, we can't directly access them, which is what's going on here. Let me comment out this code, because I want to save it for later actually, and show you more directly, more clearly what that means. That means you can't do something like this. Let's do 4 like we did before. You'll notice if still problem is it's not Wuhan blue. If you notice that if we I don't know what the actual error message will say, but we can't. It'll have an error message, and the reason why is because we've declared that as private. And what does this mean? This means that outside of the class, so the class we're talking about here in this instance is the point class. Outside of this class, these things are not accessible. They're kind of gated off. So when you say p point x, it's like I can't help you out there, because that's like secret access. You have to get to this some other way. One way to do it, and to assign 4 to it, we've already done, is by using the constructor. Because here's the thing about this private access. Things outside of the class, so for instance something in another class, like point demo, does not have direct access to anything that's private in the point class. But everything within the point class, all the code inside of the point class, has access to it still. So what I said before about how X and Y are recognized throughout the whole point class from here to here is still true. Still true. So when I say X gets this, the fact that it's private has no bearing on that. It could be public, private, doesn't matter, because it's inside the class. So we can still set the values for them. Now we can't print them out. Why? Because when you try to print out, you're going to, p.x. That's not going to work. So how do you print it out? Let me just show you. Here's the first real method that's part of a class, and it's not static, which is something I need to cover at some point. Make your method public, and call it some, in this case it's going to be void, because it's just going to do a task. It's not return anything. Call it something sensible. I'm going to say print point. Now, people who know how to do this from before know there's probably there's a better way to do this actually, depending on what you're doing. But we're going to do it this way for now. So what you'll notice is that both the constructor and this are public. That means things outside of the point class can access those methods, the constructor method and this method called print point. It can still use them. So how can we make that to our advantage? Let's take this code that we had before and just reuse it inside of the class here to print it out in a like that nice format that you see with the parentheses and the comma. The only thing is it's not a variable anymore, it's just x and y, so get rid of the p point, p dot, there you go. And now we have a public method that we can use to print out what the point looks like. So the way you would use that, and watch carefully here, we're printing out a point, but that doesn't mean we have to use system.out.print anything. That's already in here. So you don't have to recreate the wheel. If you want to print out a point, what you do is you take the variable's name, then a point, a dot. Point's making it real difficult using that word. And then call that method. So print point is the name of the method, right? What happens when you call print point? It goes to the object that P has an address for. So this variable P, point, this point variable, has the address of this point that we created. And it'll go in here, find the print point method, and execute it. What will it do? It'll take that 4 that's in that X up there and the 5 that's in the Y and put them in here and print it out. So let's run this. And that's what you get. So whenever you want to print out the actual parentheses and the 4 and 5, all you have to do is call print point. Notice there's no arguments too.